Beautiful. All right, Fashion Dolls. Happy Transformation Tuesday, July 28th, and welcome back to an all new episode of Style by Stevie. We're going to make it brief. I can't keep this beautiful specimen of an icon here with me, but
You can take it. I'm all right. I'm all right.
Fashion Dolls, welcome if you're just coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, do you guys know who we have here in the dollhouse with me today? This man is a man who wears so many hats. I mean, he is a model, he is an actor, he is a minister. His father was a Golden Glove boxer. His sister was a 90s it girl, and you guys have seen her everywhere. And she's married to also a martial arts expert, an icon himself. My God. I mean, the talent just flows through this family. But for this specimen of a beauty right here sitting next to me, my God, I have pictures of him in my locker with Shamar Moore and Tyson, all of them. Like, I'm trying not to fangirl out, literally. I have to keep it
All right.
together.
So we love that. We love, especially the older I get, I love it even more because it's still happening. So right on.
My God, it is such a pleasure to have in the dollhouse with me, Fashion Dolls, the one and only, the legendary Lamar Waters. How are you doing? And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you. Been waiting for a while. I was excited about it. I'm glad we were able to. We had a little miscommunication, but it's okay. Here we are together, and that's cool. I'm doing well today. How are you feeling?
I'm doing wonderful. And also, I want to say thank you for reaching out. You guys know my most recent tragedy, and I must say, an update. I have a new home. I'm a first time homeowner with my brother. I'm excited about that. And I gave you guys a house tour yesterday. So it's coming along. We're in the process. My brother has to be out of this place where we're currently at now on the 31st. So we will be moved in. I'm excited, and we'll be able to resume new interviews and shows in my new home. I think you guys got a little tour, so I'm excited.
I believe it's because you have a God that you serve. Yes.
Yes. And I haven't given up. I have not given up. You were one of the ones encouraging me. You reached out like, okay, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? So many of you, thank you all so much. And I'm just happy to be back, to be alive, to be here because these type of tragedies, those are out of our control, out of our circumstances. But God does it to us for a reason. Place us, there we are, place us in a place for something better. So that was just a temporary setback, but we are back on our feet, and I'm thankful to be here.
Seems like I lost you. I don't see you anymore.
Oh, can you see me now?
Hold on. I'm pushing all the wrong button. No, I don't see you. Well, I guess as long as you can see me,
I can see
then
you.
you know who you're talking to.
And once the interview is done,
You know what?
we'll
I'm gonna
see each
pull
other.
over.
Definitely.
I'm gonna pull over, try and get us.
But
See, y'all, if anybody's watching, y'all excuse me. I live in Palm Springs, and my car thermometer temperature says 115 degrees, so I'm sweating a little bit.
you're still hot. You're still hot. Hot is the same way I seen you in Shantae Moore's music video, which we will be getting into later in the show. But I did
Okay.
my homework and research. Let's start at the beginning of your journey. Born in Pasadena, California, and in kindergarten, you moved to Columbia, Maryland, where it was more so a diverse. You've opened up about experiencing racism and the journey of what it was like growing up for you, and even in these dire times that we're living in right now. But born in Pasadena, California, tell us about the beginning of your journey and your story.
Well, Pasadena is where my parents grew up. Uh, both sides of my family are some of the original uh, black families, I guess, in the area of Pasadena, Altadena. Sadly, we lost three family houses in those Altadena fires a couple years ago. So we're all spread out now. But still my home. It's hard for me to say which is my home, whether it's Pasadena or whether it's Columbia, Maryland, because I was mostly raised there in Maryland, and I went to school for the most part. Graduated high school there, I attended University of Maryland, College Park campus as a dance major. But I, every chance I got, I would come back to California because my heart is just really, really in Pasadena. Um, I only went to school in Pasadena for 1 year, though. I went to John Muir. I was a Mustang for a year. And kind of tying it into what you mentioned earlier about the cultural things that I've experienced. Um, it, the schools that I went to in Maryland were kind of small, neighborhood size. And when I got out here to California, the school was so big, and it was a culture shock for me. You know, there was a lot more black people than I had ever been around in school, anyway. Um, but now I miss it. I live in Palm Springs, and I miss my folk, if you know what I mean.
That feeling that helped mold you and shape you into who you are today, the experiences, these all of these things. Because if you didn't go through all of those things, we wouldn't know who you are. I remember
Yeah.
seeing you in a lot of fashion magazines. I remember seeing you
Well,
everywhere. Y'all were everywhere. And you went through all of these obstacles. You went through all of these obstacles. I was like, what is the backstory? Because I was always curious to know. And now we
well,
know. Yeah.
well. There's more to it. Is that my mother was a model. Um, my father could have been, but he just wasn't, into all that. That both of my grandmothers were very stylish women. You have to remember that they were boomers and beyond, and back then people got dressed to go out of doors, to go outside of the house. So I always kind of had a sense of style embed in me from them. And then when I got to be 15, 16-ish, and I got kind of began to get my man self was coming up, and people began to tell me that I should be walking the runway and doing so forth. So I said, okay, sure. And so I began way back when I was 15, 16 years old, um, doing this. And so it's been a long, it's been a long road for me.
And look at you now. You are that because, like I said, you were everywhere. And I went through all of your photos, and it's just like beautiful. Every single shot, beautiful. And you were out during a time where male models, there was only one. There was only one, and the one that I can think of is Tyson. You were out in the era where
I got,
yeah, where women, Naomi, you had Tyra, you had Beverly Peel, you had all of the black female top models, but there was only one black male model that I can think of in that era that also broke barriers, and it was Tyson, and yourself included. Y'all two were everywhere. Oh, I can't
you know,
forget Boris Kojo, and
well,
shout outs to from the show. If Loving You is wrong, I cannot remember his name. Jason Olive. Yes, he Calvin Klein.
I've got a little uh, or something to say about all of them. Nothing bad, but Tyson, if I don't know if you remember, but Tyson was already he had just started his modeling career in the '90s, like I did. But he really blew up because of a commercial that he got. If you remember, it was a yellow convertible Ford Mustang.
Yep.
Okay, I was supposed to be in that commercial, but, but but he knocked me off the top. I was my agency had me on hold and everything, but he knocked me off the spot because you know how fickle and ever changing the industry is as far as what they want, as far as the look,
Oh yeah.
you know. And at that time, see my skin tone, I'm in the middle. I'm not light skin. I'm not dark skin. I'm a copper brown in the middle. And I started in the light skinned era when they wanted the light skinned guys, and I was too brown for the most part. So then it started to blend over a little bit, and right when I was about to get started, here come Tyson with his beautiful dark chocolate sculpture featured self, and knocked all of us, knocked us all out. You know, I've done a runway show with Boris, way back in the day when I was modeling in New York City. Um, he was a little standoffish, but the funny thing is that he's great friends with my sister, my brother-in-law, so that's all water under the bridge right now. Jason Olive. Um, Well, I can't tell that story. But anyway, I was there with all of them, yeah. And depending on what the industry was asking for at the moment, we were each hot in our own way, I guess.
And must you say, has the industry changed? You see the shift of the varieties of different skin tones, and not just the
Oh yeah,
varieties of different skin tones, but body types. And this is from someone who's worked in the world of fashion, who sat with so many models, including yourself, and so many others who have experienced the things that you've experienced. Every story is different. But do you see that change happening now?
absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something wonderful to describe it. You, she was one of the black female models on the cover of British Vogue when they did that cover with all the dark skinned, beautiful
Oh,
chocolate
yeah.
sisters. Do you remember that? My cousin was on that. She was the fairest skinned one. She's about my color. Her name is Majesty, and she walks all the top runways all around the world. Um, she's thin as a pencil. She's got that. Back in my day, we called it Twiggy. There was a model called Twiggy back
Yep.
then. That waif modeling thing. So my cousin is at that end of the spectrum. Um, Now my ex-wife, she's always been not curvy when you think curvy models. She was never a super thick woman, but she always had curves. She got beautiful hips. She's a curvy woman, and she modeled for Ebony Fashion Fair. And Miss Johnson, she's chocolate. My ex-wife is a beautiful chocolate skinned black woman. Um, but for Ebony Fashion Fair, that was fine. You know, but as you're saying, I've seen it go from uh, uh, a Tyra Banks skin complexion up to Rashumba, and Naomi. Um, I love it all, but like you said, yes, I've seen it happening where, for instance, I keep telling people, I say you can see someone walking down the street and look at them and say, oh, they could never be a model. I'm like, oh yes, they can. Watch them walk. I've seen runway shows with from waif models all the way up to the more curvy girls. Men. It used to be with men, and this was where I used to have kind of a problem. Um, I was never thin enough back in my day to be a regular, consistent top runway model because I had gotten pretty muscular before I went to New York, and I couldn't fit the clothes. So it's not that they didn't like my walk or my look. I just couldn't fit the clothes. So that's when you began to see um, the what do you call it, the fitness models coming up. Where you're on the cover of Men's Fitness, Muscle Magazine, and that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of areas for you to model these days. It doesn't have to be the old school simply walking the runway in Paris. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
And as you said, the models that were muscular, we would flip through the pages of Essence magazine, and I'm pretty sure I've seen you there, Tyson on the cover too, Boris. I mean, they would cast the black male models in Essence magazine, and they would put them in either a beauty campaign or either on the front cover. So we see that shift happening. And then years later, it's a push for a coalition of diversity. We have full, as you said, models who are more voluptuous. And of course, I mean, I think when Rihanna created Savage, I mean, of course, Victoria's Secret has theirs, but when she created Savage, I think that put a lot of body types on, on full
Oh
display.
yeah,
Like we have a little bit of everything. It's not just the muscular. You have your average build. You have your thicker, voluptuous. I mean, it's so many.
so many. And something else that I've been a part of changing. I mean, not that I created the change, but that I've been a part of the change is now I'm 60 years old now, and I started modeling back when interracial things were still pretty taboo.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we were just getting black faces, regularly on the commercials for products, and TV shows that were anything besides Good Times and the Jeffersons. All that was kind of just beginning when I was beginning. But what's happening now is interesting is that as an older model, 'cause I'm not doing as much as I used to, but I'm still in the industry. I'm still in the game. And but now I'm doing a lot of lifestyle modeling, and they are constantly putting me with the white wife. Every time I do lifestyle modeling, the woman that's matched up with me to be my partner, my wife, my girlfriend, whatever it is a white woman. And so there is still some subtle, if not blatant, racism because I know why, and someone else may disagree with my reasoning why, but I know why they put me with white women. Um, it's because I don't look like Tyson Bedford. You know what I mean by that?
I know exactly what you mean. And when you said that, shout outs to Myowa. I don't know if you guys seen Doja Cat and Lotto's newest music video. And I talk about this a lot on my platform. Colorism is a thing. Thank you so much, girl. Shout outs to my girl, Faith is the Substance. She says, salutations, hello, Lamar. And shout outs to my girl Faith as well too. Y'all go and check out her platform. I never knew her story, but she touched on being teased about her skin complexion as well too, because Faith is, if not my complexion, she's a little bit darker than me. And she was talking about colorism and how she experienced it. And there's a creator by the name of Myowa who also talked about colorism in the fashion industry and in the modeling world. It is a thing. So Lamar, you're don't be afraid to say it. In my platform, we call out the real for what it is because what you're saying is things that I have been saying. You're hearing it from the male's perspective. And I have been saying this for the longest as it pertains to models that are of a lighter hue being paired with models who are not, and even in their ethnic background. I'm just like, it is time for a push for diversity. And even as it pertains to back in the day, models had to do their own makeup. If you want to go to the beauty aspect of it, wait a minute. I think we lost Lamar. I think we lost him. Oh, I don't know what just happened. Okay, can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me? That is crazy. He's still here, but I can't see him on the screen. That's crazy, y'all. That is crazy. Okay, Lamar, you might have to come back up and let me add you because I don't know what just happened. Yeah, Lamar's going to have to join back. I'm going to text him to join back and we're going to continue this conversation. But as I was saying, as it pertains to my girl, Faith, I never knew her story. I never knew that she experienced that. Because, see, I too have experienced that, and as you can see, I'm not the lightest girl in the room. And as it pertains to colorism, it's on the scale of white supremacy. And they have separated us based off of skin color. So lighter skin were in the house, darker skin, if you were about my complexion or face complexion, you'd be in the fields. And massa would get to you faster if you were in the house, if you were lighter complexion, if you were fair skinned or light skinned. There's been a whole conversation about Doja Cat and Lotto's music video, and shout outs to Mayua for breaking that down so brilliantly. uh, is still here in the beauty world and in the fashion world about what is considered and deemed as beautiful and what is not considered or deemed as beautiful. Give me one sec. Where is my phone? I'm going to have to text Lamar and tell him to come back. And oh, he's back. Okay. I was just about to text him, and we're back. Can you see me now?
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I told you how hot it was here. Made this damn iPhone shut down.
That is, oh my God, that's okay. To add on to your point, we were talking about colorism and the push for what is deemed as beautiful and what is deemed as high fashion, and it goes all the way back to, do you guys know the first black supermodel? She was on the cover of British Vogue, and she hid her face. Do y'all know who
I
I'm
remember.
talking about? Zendaya recreated that photo for Essence magazine. Danielle
Yeah,
Luna.
I remember. I
She
remember that.
experienced racism. She experienced those things to be able to get where she's at in the fashion industry. She endured all of that.
Yeah.
And to see where we're at right now for the push of beauty and diversity, I think we still have a long ways to go. But I was talking about Faith because Faith talked about experiencing colorism as a woman who is of a darker hue. I myself too. And she was out during your era, Lamar, Kenya Moore. It was an episode of
Okay.
Housewives at the reunion where she literally called out Eva Marcel for the nappy head comment. Eva Marcel in America's Next Top Model. She said, as long as you have light eyes and good hair, that's what's acceptable and what beauty sees. But the beauty standards are now changing to the point where you have models that I love her so much, her deep, rich chocolate skin. And she came to the Met Ball with the Swarovski diamonds attached
Right.
to her body.
Right.
Adopt, that's her name,
Right.
Adopt. I cannot pronounce her Anak. Yes, gorgeous.
Gorgeous. She.
Discovered at her university,
Mhm.
and her modeling career has took off. But go ahead, Lamar.
Well, I was going to say that I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Um, there are some things that are so powerful that they cannot be denied.
Mm.
There's some things that are so powerful that you can bury it all you want to. It's always going to rise to the top, and that's what we are as melanated people. We are too beautiful. We are too strong. We are too powerful. And I'm not one that says we are more than the next, but we are absolutely at the top. Of beauty, and when it comes to even worldwide standards, we got it. We got it. And they know it. The problem was, as it always has been, that there's a level of white supremacy that has tendrils that go into everything. They go into everything, including this industry. You know, and even if a person say, I don't know this. This is just conjecture. I'm not saying anything for fact, but say for instance that the editors of Vogue and the editors of all the different fashion magazines, there was a time when even if they wanted to, their hands were tied using us because of what was going on in society, especially in this country, Britain and France, all those places. Yes, we know about the Josephine Bakers and Eartha Kitts, who went over to Europe and had great success as black women, but again, their skin, these were fair skinned women for the most part, and so it's just it was I don't think it was ever a true and strong and real denial of our beauty, because if our beauty didn't exist, then the slave masters wouldn't have been messing around with us so much. Okay, if they thought we were that unattractive, they wouldn't have been coming
And
at
they
my
got to the
sisters like they
lighter
did.
ones first. They got to the lighter ones first. They got to the lighter ones first. Lighter skin in the house. If you were about my complexion or my girl Faith's complexion, you'd be in the fields. So colorism
Children might,
comes, yeah, it stems all
yeah,
the way back to slavery. It's white
it,
supremacy.
it's white supremacy, and but again, those of us who are spiritual, especially, and I really don't think you have to be spiritual to feel that there's a shift that's happening. That's why, and I'm not going to get all super political because I'm not a political person, but we can all see the writing on the wall. We can all see what's going on with this administration. The only reason that the theys, I'll call them, push so hard against us is because they know about us before we knew about us. Do you hear what I'm
Our
saying?
strength, our power, our intelligence, it runs deep in our bloodline, in our ancestors. It's in our veins. And by they, I have a special name for, I don't call it an administration, it's a regime because they're operating exactly how they're operating. And I don't call this man president, I call him Orange Piggy Lamar. I have a special nickname for him. Sunshine. But our innovations, our dedication to the culture, the things that we have invented, they are now trying to scrub that away. But you cannot erase Black culture,
They
Black
try-
art, Black music, Black talent, Black creatives. And I had this same conversation yesterday with Mark Angel, where we were talking about the power of Black creativity and our resistance, and how Black joy is a form of resistance, and how we have to continue to keep letting our voices be heard, and the importance of that.
well,
That's another thing I want you to be. Yeah,
that's one of the main things, and I saw a few TikTok videos with white women and white men saying this about their fellow people. Again, I don't. I always say I don't like to get too deeply into race, but the thing is, and they say, why are you always making it about race? Well, because it is. It just is.
exactly.
And what they were saying about other white people is that they can't stand our joy. They're uncomfortable when we're feeling joyous, showing joy. They're uncomfortable when we walk into the room with confidence and this knowing that we have. And it's not an arrogance. It's not conceit. I always tell people that there's a difference between conceit and confidence. you know, and they want to call it conceit. They want to say that we're getting out of our place or so on and so forth. But we have a confidence because we know who we are too, and we're getting and this and how they stole the word woke from us is another issue and problem.
And they're
But
weaponizing it.
they're
But
weaponizing it because the true meaning
what
was
that
that we
means is to be aware, to be socially
were
conscious and aware to what's going on. So if you're weaponizing woke, we know exactly what you're doing, but it's dangerous the way they're doing it, because they're the ones who are radicalized, who are deeply indoctrinated. And I
right.
mean, I live in South Carolina, so I'm at the heart of the Confederacy. And you guys know about the Stoner Rebellion down here. I can remember interviewing Keith Boykin, and you guys see him on CNN. And it goes back to what Lamar just said. Why does everything have to be about race? He wrote a whole book about it, and it is. They've made it about that. They've made their mission very clear, and that is to scrub away our culture. And BET, when BET was created, because I remember seeing you on there a lot, Lamar, on BET, and of course in Shantae's video, which we'll get into later. But when BET was created in 1988, it gave us a space where we can celebrate the culture, the talent. Because remember, MTV did not want to play Black artists at one point, but you had two Black artists that were at the top of the charts, and those were, well, three. You had Prince, Michael Jackson, and you had Whitney Houston, who broke those barriers so that other Black artists could come on and promote and showcase their music, their talent. Because BET was created in 1988, where they gave us, and then you had so many shows on there that gave us everything and then some. They were intimidated by our strength then, and how we were able to resist, how we were able to revolt and be creative about it. And as Mark stated on the show today, Nina Simone, who I love, and I'm only 32 years old. Faith says 60 where? And how do I know
I,
about Nina Simone? My father grew up a New Yorker, and I went through all of his music. And Nina Simone, I discovered her at maybe 13 years old. And I started listening to her music, researching her music. And one thing she said was, the job of the artist is to reflect the times. So, as Black artists, we have the power. The
okay,
power is in our DNA from our ancestors, and it runs deep. So, I
yes,
wanted to add that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I was getting at earlier when I said it's too much to contain, too much. You know, I remember when I first started modeling back in the '90s. Um, I had an agency. I started with an agency in Los Angeles, and there was a guy, another black model, who was their top guy at the time, and I pretty much took his spot. Well, I didn't take his spot. I was put into his spot because it was difficult enough to get men of color to cross over into mainstream advertisements and things like that. But he was an asshole, and it's very quick to get cut out of the industry when people say that you can't be worked with. You know, um, I'm a human being. I've got my good side and I got my bad side, but I prefer to be good. So I always have a great time. When I'm booked for something, and that's why they ask me back. When I got to New York, I got to New York in 1996, I think it was, and pretty much immediately was able to take care of myself in the rough city, because they liked working with me. I was in the newspaper every weekend, modeling for Model Sporting Goods. They had another guy, yeah, another guy that they had been using, for his look, and they actually preferred his look over mine, but they didn't like working with him. You know, and it happened again. I got another agency there in New York, and the same thing. Another black man was their top model, but people didn't want to work with him. I don't understand what it is about this arrogance. If you look a certain way, just live in it. It don't make you better than somebody else. It doesn't make you, you know, able to talk down to people, and to be demanding and all those things that you hear about the horror stories of actresses and actors, who can't be worked well with. I put it this way, I know how competitive the industry is, and so any edge that you can find, you need to use that edge and sharpen it. And if my edge is that they enjoy working with me because I keep everybody laughing and we're having a good time, and if they need prayer, I'm gonna pull out my ministry and I'm gonna go ahead and pray. It's a good time working with Lamar. You know, and now you mentioned some of the music videos that I've been in. It was the same story almost every time. I got chosen for those videos because they had already seen hundreds of other men and they just didn't like their vibe.
And look where you are now. My girl Faith says Lamar is intriguing. I would love to interview with him as well. And she said, "Yes, you're fine," and he's frozen. Okay, we're back. We're back. Yes, we had that moment. But you mentioned going to New York in 1996. In 1995, well, 1994, 95, 96 was when Shantae Moore came out with her album, A Love Supreme, which I should have grabbed. Is at the new house. I should have grabbed and bought it because you were in her old school Lovin' music video, which I think till this day is one of the most sultry. And she is
Yes.
just, she's the bird of paradise. When she sings,
Yeah.
it's a richness in her voice. It's like waking up in the morning. Like I can't describe the feeling, and just hearing a beautiful bird
Yeah.
of paradise
Right.
whistle these notes out. She looked beautiful in the video. You looked hot in the video. It was black and white. You were shirtless, and I'm like, okay, who is that? Because it's giving me salt and pepper, what a man vibes with the lighting and everything. Like the 90s was everything. Tell us, what was it like being casted for this video?
Okay. Well, you compared it to other videos. The director of that video was Matthew Ralston.
He did
God
salt and
rest his soul.
pepper, Janet Jackson, In Vogue, yes.
And there were other videos supposed to be in, but I already been booked for another video, and so they didn't want the same guy in all the top in all the top videos. Um, okay, so Shantae Moore, that was obviously a turning point, a great area in my career. That was 1994, towards the end of 1994. Um, my agency sent. They were just at that point they were just going by the look. So they cut us down and they called back six of us from the other guys. And at the second audition, Shantae was there, and the director Matthew Ralston was there. Okay, and they had us in like it was like a dance studio or something like that, and they lined us all up and they said okay. And then for the first time we heard the song. They turned the song on and they said okay, just dance. And the other guys, and I'm sure you understand about the whether a top model or up and coming model, whether they're gay or straight or anywhere else on the rainbow, um, there's an expectation, which is kind of changing a little bit. You know, it's changing now, but there was an expectation of masculinity, okay, in everything. And all the guys at every audition that I went to were all trying to be ultra masculine, and to the point of sometimes there was toxicity in the masculinity, but they were trying so hard to be masculine. So when we all started dancing, and you know the song, it's a lyrical, lovely, flowing kind of sound, right? But the other guys, you know, they were trying to be all hard, and they was, you know, and they was doing Soul Train dances and whatnot, you know. But I'm a professionally trained dancer, okay, in
And it
modern
shows
dance.
in that video. It shows in the
Well, that's what
video when you're opening up, you're like you're dancing in a tango and the confetti is falling down and she has like this Josephine Baker-esque hairstyle, the same way she did on the cover. I mean, the video is just beautiful and Matthew Ralston.
I got something to tell you about that part too, because there was two different. If you remember the video, it goes back and forth from um, and then there's a few shots of me doing my thing by myself, and then there's a part that you just talked about, you know, where we're doing the, you know, the dance together with all the glitter coming down and everything. Oh, I can't think of his name, the choreographer. He choreographed for Beyonce and everything. Frank Gatson.
Frank Gasson,
Okay,
yes.
he was the choreographer for that video, and that was the first time that I met him. And he was trying to teach me how to do this specific kind of a slow dance with her, and it was very frustrating for me because my mother, there's a certain kind of a little hand dance that my mother used to always want to do with me, and I could just never get my feet to do the right thing. And it was, and then it just happened to be that he was trying to show me that exact fucking dance. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna mess up. They're gonna kick me out because I just couldn't get it. But they kept me in anyway because they liked what I did. Oh, that's what I was saying before. When the six of us guys started dancing to the music, I just closed my eyes and I just felt it, and I just started doing, you know, what you see in the video. I felt the music, and they shut it off, and they said, okay, that's enough. Everybody can wait outside. And they sent it. Same thing with the Karen White video. They sent everybody home and told me to come in. I'll talk about that later. But what let me see Shantae's personality first was during wardrobe. You know, we had and that, oh, that's another story. When we first practiced the video, that's when I met Brandy, because Brandy's album had just come out, and
Yep.
she was using the same rehearsal space, and she was sitting there watching us, and her father was being very protective. I was like, I don't want that little girl. But anyway, so back to Shantae. So when they pulled out her Shantae's wardrobe, Shantae and I used to go to the same church. I was baptized at the church where Shantae was in the choir, Peace Apostolic in Los Angeles. And when they brought her wardrobe out to her, she said, "Oh no," she said, I'm in the choir. You know, she said that's too short. She said, I can't wear that. It's too short." So they came back with, you know, about 3 more inches down the leg, you know, and we shot the video, and it was beautiful, and she was lovely to work with. There was no typical celebrity attitude, none of that. She was beautiful from top to bottom the whole time. And I've seen her a few times since, and she remembers me, you know, and we chit chat for a minute. Um, it was just all in all beautiful experience. It really hurt my heart when years later, um, well, okay, I can't. That's her story. I can't tell that. Anyway, so it was all beautiful, and it's been nothing but beautiful. Every time I see her, you know, it's a wonderful thing. Um, Karen White, you want to hear about Karen White?
Yes. I love Karen White.
Have you seen that video that I was in?
I sure did. The
Again,
way
that's
I mean, the way I feel like I mean, the list goes on of these amazing women's videos that I've seen you in. And
so
one of my favorite lyrics, old school living, old school loving. On the phone all night till the morning light, surprising her with flowers. Like Shantae, as it pertains to love, romance, the video was tastefully done. And as you said, she did talk about being in the choir and how, listen, image. and I must say this, image consulting is everything, and the artist having control, saying, no, I will not wear this, no, I will not do this, is a beautiful thing. So the way she did it, it was tastefully done with the shorts, and she had the halter top. Beautiful. And then she's sitting in the chair, and it's the black and white. Like Matthew Ralston, my God, knew how to make a woman find her perfect light. Back and you look at In Vogue's My Lovin', you go and you look at What a Man with Salt and Pepper, um, Runaway Love with In Vogue. I think he shot a couple of Janet Jackson's music videos as well
Tony
too.
Braxton.
Like, yeah, Tony Braxton.
Yeah, he had this. It was a revolutionary because a lot of people began to imitate his style. After that old school Lovin' video, all the other videos came out after that. And he repeated that kind of style, that soft, sultry, drawing you in to a story, type of thing, to where it was just all beauty, all beauty, all beauty. I loved it. And Shantae fit right in. She is. I think also another reason that they may have chosen me and kept me, even though I couldn't get the dance right. Um, I was raised by women, mostly women. Yes, yes, I had two fathers, and they're very active in my life, but for the most part, my family is women. I know how, I was married to a actual woman, and I just know how to treat a lady. I'm a romantic person, you know, and there's in it. There's no falseness in it. There's no ulterior motive in it. I enjoy treating a lady like a lady, and I feel like Shantae picked that up with me because there was actually a scene that they cut out of that video, and it may also have been because of the religious aspect of it, but they had us on a bed.
Oh,
Wasn't nothing real. Yeah, it wasn't super steamy, so ain't nothing to write about, but it was enough where I think that she said no, we probably should skip that part. They didn't skip it with Karen White though. I'll tell you about that. I had a good time with that video. Um, the Karen White video for "Can I Stay with You Tonight" that was another one of my fun auditions where I went in and there was at least 200 guys there, and I was probably number 7 for them to see, and Karen was there. Directors, whatever. And I walked in the room, and she said, "Hello, Lamar. It's nice to meet you. I'm Karen." I said, "Hi, Karen." She said, "Do me a favor." She said, "Just walk over to the wall, to the far wall, and walk back." I said, "All right." So I walked to the far wall, and I walked back, and she smiled. She said, "Oh, thank you very much, Lamar." I said, "Okay," and I picked up my things and I left. I wasn't 10 minutes out the door. Sexy sirens, of the
yes.
90s, and she was very sexy, very beautiful, chocolate. L.A. Reid, I think she was married to at the time. Um, so when we got to started doing the video scene, and at one point
Yep.
I had to be like, hold on, because that woman turned me on. That woman turned me on. Um, but yeah, my all my different music videos. There's always been such wonderful stories and people that I've met. I met Eazy-E before he died when I did a music video for Shatasha. I don't know if you know who Shatasha was. She was the singer.
Natasha Williams, Douglas Ruggish Bone. Yep.
Yeah, so she did a song. She remade Denise Williams "Free."
Free. Yep.
I was in that video for her for that. So I met Eazy-E because I guess he was part of one of the. But it's just my career. I guess what I'm getting at, it's afforded me so many meetings, opportunities, experiences, and they've all been good. I've only had one bad experience modeling in my whole life that if I had to mention one thing, this is the one thing. Because I was a young model. I was probably 18 or so, and I had only been doing stuff like, minor stuff like that. But when I moved back to California, and I started seeing, ads because they had ads back then. We didn't have social media. We didn't have, we didn't even have Craigslist at that time. So you saw an ad, or you heard something on the radio. On the radio, they'd say there's going to be an open call for this or that or the other. So I went to this open call for a fashion show, and it was. And what breaks my heart about this story is that it was a black run production, and I got in there, and as usual, there were lines and lines of people. I got the first cut, and I went into a different part of the building for the second audition, and this time it wasn't with everybody at the same time. This time they brought you in one at a time, and I went in there, and the guy, in hindsight, because I'm old enough now to know to know how people are. In hindsight, this was a man who, I think he wanted to be a model himself, but couldn't for reasons that I don't need to get into. But he kind of had this attitude like he was higher than everyone, that he could do what the fuck he wanted to do. And this man, he asked me. I stood in front of him. I had already done my walk. And I stood in front of him like a slave.
My God.
And I was young, and hadn't learned some of the more violent ways of expressing myself that I know now. But he asked me to smile, and he stuck his fingers in. And now that I'm an adult and I've had certain experiences in life, I know what that means. That he was trying to make me submit, basically, and to, so they chose me, but I didn't do the show. I was just like, okay, if this is the kind of the whole casting couch thing, I have to say, speaking of that, I've been blessed where I've never had to submit to a full casting couch situation.
No, you went through the audition process. And speaking of music videos, it's like talent runs in your family. Like I said, you said your mom was a model, your father was a Golden Glove boxer, your sister, she started to break out and became a 90s music video girl. She was in LL Cool J's and Boys to Men's Hey Lover video. His sister is Jillian White, Fashion Dolls,
Gillian.
and she's married to Michael Jai White. You guys know him as Spawn or Marcus. Where the hell my kid at? Yes, that one.
Dynamite. Yeah. um, I'm very proud of them. I'm not going to speak much on them, that they have.
Yes.
And I'm glad that he's raising my nieces, with my sister, and they are Hollywood people who you won't find nothing bad about them. And I'm not just saying that because that's my family. It's a true, honest to God fact. You will not find no dirt on them, and they keep it that way. It's very easy, for people to fall under the weight of celebrity, but they're thriving. They're thriving, and so and they give me motivation. I have there's enough talent in my hands by now, but life is life. We all got things going on. But she actually, a lot of times you hear about the older sibling or the auntie or the uncle or the grandparents, someone older than you, motivating you and inspiring you. But it was my little sister, because she started getting, like you mentioned the LL Cool J video. I remember I was living. She was going to Howard University then, and I was on the East Coast living at that time. So I, she and I weren't. She's my half sister. We weren't raised together, so we became close, in our 20s basically. Um, so I didn't really know everything that was going on in her life at that time. Is what I'm getting at. So I'm on the way out to the club one night. I'm going to DC to shake my ass a little bit, and I stopped. I I stopped at a liquor store. Excuse me. Forgive me of smoking, but I need this right now.
Oh, good.
I stopped at a liquor store on the way, to get some gum, in case somebody wanted to be in my face. I had to get some gum for my breath. And you know how liquor stores they have like a TV monitor that the people behind the counter can see.
Yes.
Well, there was two dudes back there, and they wouldn't pay me no mind at all. I could have stole anything in the store I wanted. They wouldn't pay me no mind at all. They was just staring, just enwrapped in what they were watching on the television screen. And so I brought my stuff to the counter, and they still wasn't looking at me. They was just stuck up looking at the TV screen. And I'm like, what's going on? And then one of them said, God damn, that bitch is fine. And I'm like, well, let me see. And I bent over, looked around, and I said, hey, that's my little sister, man. So that's how I found out this shit. And she, and then she began.
Martin. She was Cole's
Uh,
girlfriend on Martin. You guys
yeah.
remember that?
Mm-hmm. Cole's girlfriend on Martin for a while. Um, it's back when she had when her hair was long, curly. But it was because of her, really, that. So yeah, I can thank my sister for being.
And the beauty and the talent just runs in y'all's family. So there you go, Fashion Dolls. There's a little family backstory. And she's always encouraging. I listen to your sister. I watched some of her interviews, and I'm just like, wow, she's so encouraging. Because I read a lot of Essence magazine. Essence, if you were a black woman in the 90s, Essence was everywhere. But was still been in diapers. I'm okay. I'm born in '93, so my mom, and when she would go to the hairdresser, I'd still have a book. I'd always love to read. I'd pick up Essence magazine. It was a thing in the household
Yeah.
growing up as a black woman, and watching your sister on television, seeing her interviews, seeing her talk about how she stays encouraged. That keeps me motivated as well too. Watching your videos as well too. So it's just like when you have
When you
go ahead, you were saying?
absolutely one of the
And it's nothing like family in this business. What are some of the gems that you've given her? Because y'all both were out and y'all were hot and still are during that time. What advice did you give to each other to keep each other grounded? Because y'all two remind me so much of when I think of brother and sister duos, I think of Janet and Michael and that
right.
bond that they had. And y'all two had that bond as well too. So what were some of the things that you guys gave to each other to encourage each other along the way?
Um, it's really hard to narrow that down because we've been siblings for so long, and we talk and share all the time. But I'll just say, I guess what first comes to mind for me, um, I'll repeat, from her from her to me, she helped me with confidence and with bravery to keep trying every time I was rejected. To know that with her example, that it meant her example was to keep doing it, keep pushing, keep bettering yourself, and keep becoming that person that they can't say no, they just won't say no to. So that's a lot what I got from her. Um, what I remember giving her when we were both younger. This is probably in the late '80s. I did a fashion show, and they had plenty of male models, but they didn't have enough women. And so they asked us, if we knew someone, who would want to join in to let them know about it. Well, my sister had just started, with her, you know, entertainment industry stuff. So I called her, said, come on and do the show. She came, she walked for them perfectly, perfectly, hot to death. They got jealous and they did not put her in the show because she was probably at the time to runway shame, and so and she thought that it was something about her. And I explained to her, I said, yes, it is something about you. I said, and it's the same thing that I've told my daughter. My youngest daughter, she had her eye on the entertainment industry also, and I told her, I said, you have a certain look, you have a certain personality, you have a certain vibe, a certain energy that intimidates people, whether you mean to or not. You know, I've had that said about me. I think I'm one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet, but a lot of people say that they are visually intimidated by me. And so I told my sister, as I've told my daughter, a flaw,
Mm.
because that's not where the flaw is. The flaw is in insecure people who can't take the competition. They can't take. Okay. And so I explained that to my sister, and hopefully she kept that as her motivation to not give up, or to say that, or, a lot of people they won't do certain things or be around certain people because they feel that there's haters all around. Okay? But I took Cat Williams to heart when he said, you got no haters, you ain't doing something right. You know, I don't relish having haters. I don't, you know, really even talk about it that much. I know that they exist. Some have made themselves known. Some of them I just discovered because I can tell. But it doesn't stop me from being Lamar. And that's what I think I imparted to my sister, was that, don't let nothing, nobody stop you from shining. Go on and shine.
And never let anybody dim your light. When you have a certain, and I watch, what is his name? Oh my God, I forgot his name, and I had him on the show. And he has a YouTube channel. Express Words with the Z is his name. You guys go and look him up. One of his videos he put out where he was saying, what is it about you that draws people to you to either hate you or like you? And like Cat Williams said, to add on to that, if they're hating you, you're doing something right. But it's got to be something. It's an aura. And I believe that people are attracted to your aura. They're attracted to your energy. And the ones who are hating and the ones who are going so hard, who are negative, they're jealous. Jealousy is a poison, and they hate what they see. They hate this your, the way you carry yourself with such confidence, and that's something that they're lacking in. That they wish that they could be as free as you are. And there are people in the world like that who will just try to put you down to make themselves feel as though they are above and beyond. They are a bag of potato chips and this, that, and the third. And it's not the case. Like, in order to have confidence, you have to build yourself up. And like you told your sister, that's something that I do. I look in the mirror and I pick out a flaw. Uh-oh, I think we lost Lamar again, Fashion Dolls. Again, it's that. Wait a minute. And we're back. We're back. Yes, I was saying that people look in the mirror and they point out flaws about themselves. And it's like, stop picking yourself apart. I've learned to stop doing that a long time ago. I want to say maybe in my ugh, teens, early 20s. was when I would look in the mirror and I would always pick myself up. When you turn 30, it's something different. It's like a light bulb hits. And it's like, now I see this. I take things into perspective. I see things in a different light. I don't see things the way I used to in my teens and 20s. So stop picking yourself apart. And if people are hating on you, it's because they're jealous of you. They're attracted to your confidence. And that's what Express Words with the Z was saying in his video. He was saying that people are attracted to your aura and your energy because that's something that they're lacking in. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that they want that. They want to be able to be as confident and as bold as you are. But what people fail to realize is that confidence is not just like instant coffee. We're back. Where you
Yeah,
can
there we go.
just
All right.
get it like that. It takes time to build up that confidence. I was teased. We all went through our awkward phases, and
Oh yeah.
to be in those states of our, to be in this part of our life, to be confident and secure with who we are, and not only just that, but overcoming the obstacles to get to this point where we are like, okay, this is who I am. Take me or leave me. This
I
is who I
have.
am authentically. Living in your authenticity, living in your truth, being bold and being who you are authentically is what attracts people to you. And I must say this, it's a quote that we've all heard. Be the best version of yourself that you can be. And that's something that I live by. I'm a Scorpio. So one thing we are notorious for doing is being daredevils. So when I've had people doubt me or say, well, no, you can't do this because of the color of your skin, or you can't do this and you can't do that. My mom's a Libra, October 7th. So one thing she has instilled into us is to continue to walk firm. And I say this even at the end of my shows, which is live life through fire. So if you're not living life through fire, if you're not living life on the edge, if you're not stepping out on faith and you're not doing it with confidence, then what are you doing? You're being insecure. And there are insecure people who hate. Like my girl Faith said about Lamar, he is intriguing. I was nervous. I prayed before this interview because I had, like I said, I had pictures of him in my locker. It was Kristoff, St. John, it was Shamar Moore, it was Tyson, it was Lamar, and I was crushing on all of them. So it's awkward. But I fangirled out in the beginning of the interview to say this because give people their flowers. Give people their flowers while they're here, embrace them, celebrate them, pour into them. That's also a part of confidence as well, too. So make sure that you are pouring into the people who put you
Yes.
here
Yes.
in this place. Make sure that you're pouring into
Yes.
your siblings as well too if they're in the industry. Encourage them. And that's what I love about you and
Yes.
your sister's relationship now. However, I have four brothers, two sisters. One of my sisters passed in 2018. She's no longer here with us. They didn't choose to go into the entertainment or hosting route. I was one of the only one out of all of those siblings that said, you know what, let me do something different. And what my mom and father I can appreciate about them is they allowed us to go in our own creative direction. My brother
Yes.
said, let me go into the
Yes.
army. He told my father just like this. He said, when I turn 18, I'm leaving. And he went straight into the army. And now I have a nephew who's about to be 3 years old in September. So I'm looking forward to that. He's in his terrible twos already, and he's all over everywhere.
Uh,
So, yes,
I,
my
I, want,
mom was
I
doing
wanted to
my
say
hair one
something.
day, and somebody's bouncing on the bed. He's busy, Lamar. So that dives into our next aspect, which is family, fatherhood. You're a dad as well, too. And like my girl said, 60 where? What is it that you do to keep your peace? Because I know raising a family, raising a village, it takes a village. And I'm pretty sure your family is close knit. So, what is it that keeps
Yes.
that family flourishing and going as a father?
Okay. Um, I think there's so many different words and adjectives that I could use, but I think that at the bottom line of it, there's a sense, not just love, yes, love, of course, but there's a sense of responsibility. When I was 19, my grandmother my grandmother was a gorgeous woman. She was half Choctaw, half Irish. And when I was around 19, as a lot of teenagers and that around the age, you start smelling yourself. You start you start growing. If you got things up here to grow, you start growing. You got things down there to grow, you start growing. You start develop, your baby fat starts to shed off. You start developing how you're going to be. And when I was 19 years old, and I began to realize that people wanted to buy me drinks and take me here and there and so on and so forth. I was okay. But my grandmother, she saw right away, that I was beginning to smell myself. And she sat me down in her kitchen, at her throne room, as we called it. And she sat on her high chair with her cigarette, and she'd hold court. And she took a long drag, and she looked at me. She said, "Let me tell you something, nigga." She said, "You got beauty on both sides of your family. You didn't have shit to do with it." She said, "I need to see what kind of man you're going to be with your integrity, your character, your sense of responsibility, so on and so forth." She said, "After a while, ain't nobody going to give a damn about how you look." She said, "What lingers is who you are." And I took that to heart all my life. You know, we, you mentioned earlier, we were talking earlier about self-esteem and building yourself up and building each other up. Both of my major relationships, I was cheated on for a variety of reasons. It's all in the book I'm writing. You'll see that another time. But each time, I remember spending hours, maybe not all at one sitting, but hours of a week, just looking at myself in the mirror, wondering why, what's wrong with me, how could they, why would they? Everything seemed to be fine. The sex was bomb as far as I thought it was. You know, I'm a good-looking man. I'm a good man. I'm intelligent, strong, all that stuff. Why? And I began to pick myself apart. I cut my hair. My hair used to be almost as long as yours at one point. I cut it off because I figured, oh, maybe she don't like that. Maybe that's why. So I was doing all those things, to myself to figure out, what was wrong with me. And it took me years to realize, even after the second time it happened, it had nothing to do with me. And so I had to begin to rebuild myself. I had to rebuild my esteem, because regardless to the newspapers I've been in, and the magazines I've been in, and the runways that I've walked, and the billboards that I had in New York, regardless to all of that, I still felt that I wasn't good enough. And it really broke me down for a while. So, if anyone's listening, never let anything like that or anything at all break you down. Always build yourself up. And it was remembering what my grandmother said to me that helped me to rebuild myself. So you asked me about my family and the structure in the village. She was a major part of it. My mother, was the kind of like most parents, they have goals and dreams and desires for their children. They want you to do this. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer so bad. Even my initials spelled law. She wanted me to be a lawyer, but she saw that I was different. She saw that I was a creative boy, so she allowed me to find myself, and so that was really good. My stepfather, I was never denied relationship with my biological father, but my stepmother married my mom when I was 3 years old, so he was my main father. He was very stoic, very businesslike, very uh, sexist even. So anytime I displayed anything creative, he didn't like that. He didn't want me to be a dancer because fags are dancers. He didn't want me to dress, to spend too much time dressing myself or primping in the mirror because fags did that. So, but my biological father was the complete opposite. When you meet a man that's fully heterosexual and they're so secure in who they are that they don't give a damn what no one else is doing
Yes.
in their bedroom. My father knows where my mouth has been. He kills every time he sees me. So I got nothing but support from him, but I wasn't primarily raised by him. So it took me a long time to come out from under the restrictions to who Lamar was going to be placed on me by my stepfather, to allow the real me to flourish and to shine. And my family as a whole has always been very supportive, always been very supportive. Um, and I understand that there are many people who can't say that. There are many people I know who if they had only had some support, and support is not always financial support. Support is just, like you
Yes.
said, being encouraged, being built up. My cousins, I'm the eldest of my cousins, and I get nothing but love and support from them. Every time I was on something, on some video, in a magazine or whatever, they calling me, screaming and crying. What a wonderful thing it is. So my family has always been right there, for me, and it's so important. And that's the way that I have been as a father. My daughter, I mentioned my youngest daughter. She did a little modeling, when she was younger, um, but she was more academic, and I supported that. She didn't want to drop out of school, even though she could have. Her mother and I, as I told you, had enough experience and connections in the industry where she could have got right in, but she wanted to get her degree, and I'm more proud of that. You know, so she'll be going to Georgetown with her master's, later on. So I'm very proud of that. So to your point, all of the successes, either in my life, other members of my family's life, my sister, we talked about earlier, has been because we are a supportive family. I've got I've got I've got two known haters in my own family, and they're pretty close, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but they didn't. They were monkeys that didn't stop the show.
And
You know,
rightfully so.
um,
Rightfully
I,
so.
yeah, I lost. It's life is there's too many unexpected twists and turns to stay mad at people. Too many twists and turns for you to have something ugly happening in your mind based upon how someone else is living or looking. You know, um, since we're here and we've grown, I'll go ahead and tell you the foundation of that hate from those family members. It's because, and I'm not saying this because this way I'm thinking. I was told point blank that they are jealous about the way that I look, that they have some of the same genetics and they didn't get whatever they consider this to be, you know. Um, and they just never let, it's such a simple thing. They've never let go of it. Never let go of it, you know. And these particular family members, they've got things in their lives that I wish I had, but I'm a little jealous of, you know. But as human beings, if you have all of your senses intact, your touch, your taste, your hearing, your
Yes.
sight, you it's natural for us as humans to operate using those senses. And if you are blessed to still have your sense of sight and vision, and I'm saying this as a man, I know that sometimes women can feel differently, but mostly as a man, we're very visual. We're very visual about the things that turn us on, things that turn us off, things we want to get into or not get into. It's a visual thing. And so and these two family members I'm talking about are both men, and they just cannot seem to get past what they see and to recognize that I'm a man that they need to have as an ally.
And that's what it's about. And not just that, Lamar, but appreciating the inner beauty within. You said when you had that conversation with yourself in the mirror, you looked at yourself and you started picking yourself apart like something is wrong with me. And people do that. There are young teenagers who do that same thing. They see something on
Yeah.
television and it's like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my hair texture? What's wrong with this? And we'll start picking out the most things, and it's just like, no, stop. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
you. Nothing wrong. What's wrong with the people who said that there's something wrong with your face or your hair or whatever it may be? You know, perfection. A lot of people, we are living in a day and age where it is instant gratification. And like Lamar was saying earlier, the 90s, we didn't have Snapchat. We didn't have uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Instagram. We didn't have X and Twitter and all of that back in the
constant
day.
pressure.
It was what you come as you are. Naturally, you'd have to do your own. I mean, you'd have professional makeup artists on set, but you'd have to work, but it wasn't all of this filter and BBL, and it wasn't any of
Yeah,
that. People used the
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of what
yeah,
they had.
right. Um, when I find myself encouraging other people, especially I do a little bit of counseling. I meet people who tell me, well, my daughter wants to model, or my son wants to get into it. Can you give any advice? And I do. I always take the time, to do that. But there's still this old, antiquated um, understanding, I guess, of the industry. And a lot of times I have to be honest, and I'll tell them off the bat whether, in my opinion, whether they have it or they don't. A lot of people are spending money on these bogus ass, like modeling schools and programs, and they're taking your money and they want you to build a portfolio and all that bullshit, because it's bullshit. And I'm so glad that I have had the experience enough to guide people away from that. And I've had a few success stories in that. But I have made it a point, and this has not been my whole life, I'm no angel, but for the last several decades of my life, I made it a point to not call anyone ugly. I didn't create you. I'm not going to call what God created ugly. We are fearfully and wonderfully created, made in His likeness and His image. The only time I've ever said ugly about somebody is because of their inside, because their attitude was fucked up. And as I mentioned earlier, that's how a lot of my successes came, is because the other guys had fucked up attitudes. you know. So when I'm encouraging people, you know, um, and they feel like they don't have it simply because of the way that they think they look, I encourage them to take the time to do what we said, to look in the mirror and go deeper and go deeper. Because there's a whole lot of successful models and actors who, walking down the street, you would never pick them out. But there was something about them that stood out to those agencies and to those advertisers and so on and so forth. Never doubt yourself. Never doubt yourself. They try to tell us Whoopi Goldberg was ugly. Goldberg ain't ugly. She may not fit the standard, but she was never ugly. But they try to tell us those things. They tell us that. And they make us feel less than, or second class in
Yeah.
this industry. And and I'm so glad. I feel very blessed having been a part that my career has spanned the decades that it has, because as we were talking about earlier, I've seen it all change. I've seen it progress. I've seen it alter. I've seen it more. Anyone who has the confidence and the desire, I feel like they're cool too.
And that's exactly what it should be about, is building the person up, not tearing the person down, because the beauty in the fashion industry is cutthroat. And times have changed. It's become more lenient, as Lamar just said, where we're seeing the push for different skin tones, different hair textures, different everything. It is so diverse, and there's beauty in the diversity. And I just want to continue to see more. So we have to continue to keep breaking these molds and these barriers. It's more coming. It's more coming. And I'm so excited. I'm happy to pick up a magazine or see a beauty campaign or scroll down Instagram and see a girl who looks just like me with chocolate skin, with
Yeah,
a big nose, all of these beautiful Afrocentric features, who looks just like me. Whereas back in the day, it was very few and in between, but they were slowly but surely starting to come to the forefront. But now we're seeing everything from all of these brands, all of these commercials, designers, everything. And I love it. There is beauty in the diversity.
Did you? time of slavery,
Yes.
black women were put on stages, not
That's
look at her
so.
big ass,
Oh yes.
look at her curves,
Yes.
her lip,
Absolutely.
all that stuff, you know. So there was still a bit of that in there, you know. When we see models that are not traditionally beautiful, they're not the Halle Berry pretty, which does nothing for me, by the way. I, I, I'm more into a woman that looks like you. I like an exotic looking woman. I like a woman that's
Oh,
you know a
oh,
little different
oh.
looking. But anyway, that's a different story. That's a different story. But there was a time when that spectacle, you know, they didn't first, and then what happened is what I said before: the strength of our beauty, the power, the undeniable existence of our beauty took over. Where they're like, oh yeah, okay, well, true. Discussion is about Lupita being Helen of Troy in the movie that's out right now, the Odyssey. You know, and the white people are complaining that they cast not only a black woman but a dark skinned black woman in a role that they expected to be a blonde haired, blue eyed European looking person. And I didn't read Homer's Odyssey myself, not all of it, some of it. But what I do know is that first of all, it's fiction. Secondly, when he described Helen of Troy, he didn't describe her as like a
Exactly.
goddess, you know. And so Lupita being that role, they can't, they don't want to understand it. They want to fight against it. But our and everybody watching and listening, always do use of you is where your beauty is.
And it runs deep in our essence. It runs deep in our essence. Miss Stevie is butter and brown.
Mm-hmm.
She is oops. Oh, oh yes, the singer tweet. Yes, she's
Like butter,
beautiful too.
skin like butter.
She is beautiful. You were saying, Lamont, I'm sorry.
As I was saying, hey, beautiful Deshaun Stallings.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and that's what it's about, celebrating our beauty, our strength. And during that day they would make fun of black people. They would make fun of us, our skin tones. You see these white artists coming out in blackface. That was the thing. There's a portrait
Mm-hmm.
that Erica
Yeah.
Badu, because she wore something, I think, at the Billboard that was inspired after a portrait of a black woman because they would fetishize over our shapes, how the black woman is shaped, how our
Yes.
backs are swayed out.
Yeah.
That goes all the way back to the
That's
motherland,
where Bustles came from.
Africa. Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you know that's where Bustles? That's why they started wearing bustles in their dresses.
Hmm.
It was because they were imitating the curves of the beautiful black woman.
It's natural with us. It goes all the way back to the motherland when the women, their Nubian goddesses, backs, when they walked, their backs were swayed out. And it was natural. Our melanin, the pride, the hairstyles, we invented this. Our people, our ancestors invented this. And they go and they create it and they're able to make millions off of it. But it just goes to show you how much impact, how much influence we as Black people, as the culture, have had on beauty. You were saying I couldn't hear you. You went out for a minute. Yes. They can't take away our uniqueness. They can't take away all of the things that make us uniquely us.
Who I am
And we're back. We're back. Yeah.
to have. Oh, okay, there we are. Okay, I was saying that there that and stuff, and I'm just saying that there are just so many things, so many people, so many situations that have made me who I am and who I am becoming. You know, I will never say that I am arrived. If I say that I'm arrived, that means I've stopped growing, and I don't want to stop growing and stop becoming. You know, because of family. You know, we mentioned earlier about my children, you know, my wife and all that. I
I can
dropped
hear
out of
you.
the industry.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me? Were the ones who started encouraging me to try to return. They said, "Daddy," they're like, "Hey, the silver fox thing is in. You know,
Yes.
you need to get on back. You need to get on back on." You know, so I'm trying. It's difficult where I am logistically. And then 4 hours out of my day just in travel of time because these auditions, you know, they're in the middle of the week most of the time. You know, so if I can find a way back to the Los Angeles area, I'll pick back up again. I'm pretty sure like that. You know, because I'll be. Um, I've never lost my confidence, but the other word that we spoke about earlier is responsibility. You know, and I took on some responsibilities um, when I at the ceremony. I gave my new and to this day she's I think she was born the same year you were born. She's in her 30s. Um, we adore each other. You know, and I encourage her. You know, don't let life circumstances stop you for what you want. Almost as much for my own daughters as I have for anyone else in life. You know, they're very encouraging to me, and so yes, I will return to the industry. My future, I'm hoping that you will in magazines and commercials and such, because I'm champing at the bit. I want to get back into it, but like I said, it's just the physical logistics right now.
I can't wait for your return. I can't wait. And we must say we're seeing a large shift of the industry, and I'm looking forward to seeing the new faces, seeing some of the uh, faces who've been in the game, vets. Because when I created your flyer, I put legendary on there because you have set the mold. And again, you right up there with those men that I've mentioned, from the Boris to the Tysons to the Jason Olives. It was very few and in between males who dominated in the fashion world, and you were one of them. You were one of the few. And we saw y'all in
I
videos.
don't,
We saw y'all in music videos. Wait, I can't forget one more. He was in
okay.
TLC's Red Light Special music video, and he also went on to be a host. Garfield. Garfield was everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
Yeah. I
also was one
remember.
of the ones as well too.
Yeah. Forgot what I was about to say. Because you're probably too young to know who Yul Brynner was. Not Yul Brynner. Yul Gibbons was. There was a cereal called Grape Nuts. Post Grape Nuts cereals were
Oh
the
yeah.
first. Remember that hard crunchy gravel ass cereal. Um, but it was back when all the healthy stuff was starting to be popular in the 80s. The Richard Simmons and the Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical, and all that kind of stuff was happening. Being healthy was becoming to be a thing. Well, my family, you said you're in South Carolina.
Yes.
Okay, my family roots on my mother's side is Greenville, South Carolina, and we know how to cook. We know how to treat a kitchen the right way. I know how to cook, but we had a lot of Southern traditional eating going on, and most of my family, I think my sister and I, that we spoke about earlier, we're the healthiest ones in the family. Most people in my family, they don't exercise, they don't care what they eat, drink, whatever. And they used to always tease me about being Mr. Healthy. Oh, you're a dancer. Oh, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. You know, but yeah, I'm not saying this with braggadociousness. It's just is what it is. I'm 60 years old and I've maintained as best as I can. Whereas most of my family, some of them have died from health issues because they didn't want to correct their diet and their lifestyle. Uh, Heart attack, stroke, diabetes, blood pressure, all that stuff that I don't have at the age of 60 um, because it was important to me, first of all, to be here, especially when my daughters came. I had some health scares when I was when my daughter was young, but I looking into I got on my own case even harder. So at the age of 60, I still feel confident enough to get back into the game because I feel like I took care of myself and people were teasing me because they said I was being too healthy. Well, this is what happens.
No, it's called being mindful to your body, being mindful to your soul, and being mindful to your spirit. And that's what it's all about. That was that weird.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, Deshaun. But he was saying because he's fit, and that's what a lot of people, we is as black people, we have to make sure that we are being careful what we put in our bodies, what we are
yeah,
taking in, because the body is our palate. We have to make sure that we are keeping everything in tip top shape. And you guys see why I get up every morning 7 a.m. and I exercise, because it's something that I have to do. Diabetes runs in my
yeah.
family, and I said I did not want that curse going down to me. I'm going to make sure that I stay at a certain level. We need to be making sure that our GLP-1s, everything is good. Make sure that you are drinking
Right,
water as well too during this weather we're
exactly.
having. Stay hydrated.
I want to answer. I want to speak to Deshaun. Wrote something, and I want to. Um, when I was younger, when I was not horribly long ago, but it was long where the boomers, my parents and their parents, were still alive and thriving, and a lot of their mentalities, a lot of their takes on different things in life were very way left to the right. My mother, as accepting of my sexuality as she eventually became, she was a boomer also. They didn't understand anything other than choosing a profession, or unless you were an athlete. The reason I began dancing is the university.
Oh,
And found out progressing in dance for my stepfather, that was taboo, because he wasn't raising no punks, as he said. I've never been a punk. But before he died, he told me that he was proud of me, about the man I had become. Before she died, told me that she was proud of the man. I talked
yeah. You didn't stop. You didn't stop. And it does, if you guys watch the show Fame, there was a gentleman on there on the show, and y'all, he passed away. He's no, I cannot remember his name. With Debbie Allen, it was Fame. Yes, got a lot of flack. Like, why you want to dance? Even with that, the things that he's encountered. So
mm-hmm,
they back in the day they would look at it as that it's dance should just be for girls, and why are you taking that? But times are changing. You have to stay in shape. Have to stay in
yeah,
shape.
yeah. The girls and sissies, and what most people don't know, I mean, outside of the stigma of being a male dancer, towards the very top of the list as far as athletes who are in shape, in the best shape,
Yep.
you know, and had I not loved myself, had I not loved myself, I would not be standing here, because I've had some things happen that were life threatening, you know. But again, going back to the encouragement and the support that I have from my family and from good friends, and from people like you, um, it motivates me to keep going. It motivates me to forget about all the stereotypes that people may want to throw at me, and you know, thinking that they can determine who I am based upon how I look. You know, I and speaking of that, I Facebook And social media, the good thing that I like about it is that it puts you in touch with people that you know from your past, you
Yeah.
know that you may want to reconnect with. And I've reconnected with a lot of people from my past, but a good portion of them, and I don't know, I'm not saying that reconnect with me through social media that say that they I was coming out, and I was kind of known, you know,
You're
and
still known.
um,
You're still known.
I,
And the next
I don't
generation,
realize
yes, the next
I don't
generation
realize it until you tell me.
watching those videos.
I, I don't realize it until you say something to me about it. But it's understandably, if you're a person, especially a young person who lives in Rhode Island,
Yep.
more money for that one video than I had been paid for any other video. So the video had been out for maybe 2 months, and there's a mall. I don't know if it's still there in LA. It used to be called the Fox Hills Mall, um, in the hood, basically, hood areas, hood adjacent. But I went shopping. I went to the mall, and you know when somebody's watching you, you can tell when somebody's looking at you. And I noticed that there was this group of about maybe 5 young black girls that was following me around the mall, and every girl, that's him, that's him. Okay, and they were debating, asking me for different stuff. Of course, my head is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger because they recognize me from the videos. So, but they never said anything. So I finished my shopping, and I'm going out to the garage to get in my car. And here they come. They still follow me. I guess they decided they were going to come ask me for an autograph. And I put the key into my car, and I heard one of them young girls suck her teeth. True black girl fashion. She went, and they never said nothing to me. And so it's just funny to me how what I feel is to the industry, because there's so many different levels to it. And the layperson thinks that just because you're on a music video, that you balling out of control about the industry. Um, but as they say, experiences. Again,
And you're still relevant because to this day, the next generation listens to Shantae Moore. And I think it was T-Boz from TLC. She says you'd be surprised at the next Gen Z, millennials, the next group of the next generation that are coming out listening to these artists like a Shantae Moore, like a Karen White. They're streaming the music. They're going back and listening to the entire album, watching the videos as well too. So that relevancy is still there, and it just goes to show you the '90s had something. And Yvette Lee Bowser, who created Living Single, she said the '90s when she created Living Single, the show it was like lightning in a bottle. And the '90s was the same way. It was lightning in a bottle. Like all of the things, black culture, like we had so many shows out where you could see these music videos. You could call in and request your favorite music video. And I think that was one of the most requested music videos that people wanted to see, which was Shantae Moore's Old School Lovin'. If not that one, then Janet Jackson's If, because they were all out during that time. You said 94, 95, and there were so many new artists starting to emerge on the scene during that time. So the '90s again, it was very candid. It can't be
Yeah.
duplicated. You can't go. I wish you could go back in time. You know, you have artists who are bringing nostalgia back on stage currently during their concerts, during their tours, and you'll see the music video in the background, but that feeling, mm, it's like lightning in a bottle. Can't be
You know
duplicated.
what saddens me?
Yeah,
You what saddens me is that, and I know I'm going to sound like an old fart when I say um, alluring, and the titties are always out, and um, it's rare to see. Uh, the, but that was just the time that is because the mood of the video was not sexual. It made you focus on the loveliness of the artistry, the loveliness. You know, um, those are the things that I love and miss in the industry right now.
and it was tastefully done. It wasn't. I remember interviewing, and I sent you that interview with. Y'all saw me cover up with the towel when he said breasts and titties and stuff, because it kind of is out, but it's tastefully done. It's a difference. Um, the
I like
night,
breasts, but I just feel like sometimes that there's a time and place for things. Like
right?
if you want people to recognize you as a serious artist for your
And it's taste the '90s, it was tastefully done. It was less to the imagination. And I sent you that interview with 112, where we talked about how music was in the '90s versus how it was currently now, where it's in your face. In the '90s, it's like you kind of have to read between the lines to kind of understand what the artist is saying in the music, and not just saying in the music, which but the video imagery shows everything. Like videos back in the day when we had the countdowns on so many shows, as Chrissy said, the '90s was ahead of its time. It music videos in the '90s told a story. We have music videos, but like you guys are saying, this next generation is something completely different. I love Meg Thee Stallion. I'm a hottie. And I like to pop and wear my short shorts and all of that every now and again. But like Lamar just said, it is a time and a place for everything. So I turn it on and I turn it off. And I'm a woman who's in tune with her sensuality and her sexuality and all of these things. I embrace it fully, but it's classy, it's tastefully done. And I have worn certain things
and I'm a
on the show, but I'm just my mom. She's very spiritual as well too. And Lamar here is a minister. And my mom, I have my uncle's also an ordained minister, but my mom will take a look at some of the outfits that I'm wearing, particularly that red dress that I wore. And she says, "My gosh, girl, where's the rest of that dress? Where's that?" Because the dress was kind of short. What do I what do I think about changing faces? 1994. Oh, the girl group. I Women in the 90s, it's a certain beauty that couldn't be duplicated. The video vixen,
About that,
everything. Yeah.
something experience and everything. But for me as a man, by dresses when she's scantily dressed and things are popping out, I know that it's not always. Well, I've learned that it's not always because they're trying to get attention from a man. That often it's because they just feel sexy that way. That's the way that they feel. So that's fine. But what I will say to a woman who is doing it for the reason of, I enjoy a tease.
Leave a little to the imagination. Yeah.
And she would say, "Give him a little shoulder." That's something else I did with my dad. I was an exotic dad. You know, but I didn't give it to him all at once. It wasn't, I made him wait for it, and that's why I was popular in doing that. So it really does depend on the individual, But in my opinion, um, the music videos that I did, the women who could to me because everything wasn't out. The love making scene, the bed. Now that woman, you go back when we get finished, you go back and take a look at that video again. And you see that she comes up with all these beautiful, bouncy, fluffy, beautiful breasts, and but it was just enough. It was just enough. And there's a scene where I'm lifting up her dress slowly, up her ankle and up her calf, and then you see her knee. All that is beautiful. But they don't do that anymore. Everything is like immediately boom, titties, ass, bang, 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 twerk it, twerk it, twerk it. And that has its place, I guess. I love it up in the club, But again, I'll say it again, and I'll keep saying it. I feel very blessed to have been a part of that era of class.
And it was, you had Shantae Moore, you had In Vogue. When I dress, I look at, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing Dawn Robinson, and we touched on fashion, how
I know.
fashion was for women back in the day. And they were elegant, they were beautiful, they
Mm-hmm,
had a message, and
yeah.
90s beauty, 90s fashion, all of that. It left a little, as Chrissy just said in the comments, which is authentic mystique. And that's what I do with my fashion, even here on Style by Stevie. Yes, I show those things, but it's tastefully done. It's the difference between doing it with class and just letting the whole world see all of your goods and bits, like Deshaun and Lamar just said. But when I do it, it's because I'm in tune with who I am, my sensuality, my.
Mm-hmm,
At one point, I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel confident. I wasn't the best dresser, but I said, if you're going to do fashion, you're going to have to come in and make some noise, but do it at your own pace. And it's the rapper Yo Yo. She was saying that too when she saw the shift in the hip hop industry because back in the day you had Foxy Brown, you had Little Kim. They were in an era where it was raunchy. The dresses were shorter than the dress that I have on today. But she said, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to change my image, because when she came out, she used to wear the hats and the braids and all of those different things. She said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do my own way. I'm going to wear a dress, yes, but it's going to be my style of dress and it's going to be classy and it's going to be tastefully done. And I'm going to leave a little to the imagination. One of her music videos, you see her wear this black and the feathers around the neck. It was beautiful. Yo Yo, the rapper Yo Yo, and
Hmm.
she changed her image. She said, "I'm gonna do it. Is it still all good with Jill Levert?" That's the video. She wore the dress. Go look it up. And she's walking. You can see her silhouette. She's covered, and the shoulders are out. She's got the feathers around the neck. Beautiful. I'm like, this is what '90s elegance is all about. And Vogue
And also,
showcased that in those red dresses and the giving him something he can feel video.
right, right. Because you know what? Another difference to me is, again, I guess it could be a blanket statement, which I said I don't like making, but I'm going to say it anyway. To me, there's a difference between a man and a boy when it comes to a woman, a woman's attractiveness, a woman's sexual availability. And to me, that difference is a boy will snatch a bud off of the rose while it's still a bud because they just got to. A man waits for it to bloom. A man wants to see a woman in full bloom, and a man is not just trying to hit. Yes, of course, we do that. I'm a sexual person too. I've had some that were just a hit and some that lingered. But my preference as a man when it comes to relations with a woman that I find sexy is because I want to see her bloom. I don't want to just snatch it because it's laid out there.
Well said. Beautifully. Beautifully. And that's a gentleman. And Shantae showcased that in her video. I mean, we can
Hmm.
go through so
Hmm.
many scenes in that video where she had like the country, the red top, and then she had the denim shorts and the boots. But my favorite scene was the black and white scene where she's sitting in the chair and she has the pin curl updo and it's like the circle, like Matthew Ralston. Ah, if you check out In Vogue's Runaway Vogue, yes, she didn't need to do a lot. And in the '90s, for women,
If you did what with them, though,
it
I didn't
was
hear that.
yeah, your beauty. You didn't need to do a lot.
No. And you know what you spoke about? You mentioned Don Robinson earlier. Um, I know for is an example of what I mentioned earlier. For me personally, as far as what I find beautiful, the other members of In Vogue
Uh, she was electrifying. Mm.
those qualities that a lot of music videos. one more. I think Beyonce is a beautiful woman. I do. Woman. Again, don't y'all. Is there a beehive in the house? Don't y'all come at me. To me, Beyonce is plain. It's her.
Oh yeah.
She's electric. She's fabulous. I'm not taking nothing away from her fabulousness. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that lights, camera, action. There are some people who need lights, camera, action. Still, Shantae Moore gives you sultry and zen vogue, especially. Yes, she does. She does.
And they're both
I
beautiful.
am
You said you mean in Vogue?
thing for older
Oh
women.
yeah.
Yeah, on their own way. You know. Oh, and that's a point that I didn't earlier. I was talking about how with social media, how you can reconnect with people that they never spoke to me, they never stepped to me, whether flirt.
No. I think we lost Lamar Fashion Dolls. And we're back. I don't know what happened. Okay, and he's frozen. Lamar's frozen. He's just so beautiful to look at. Fashion Dolls, make sure y'all subscribe, like, share, and follow if you're enjoying the conversation. He's gonna come back in. YouTube has been trying us today, but I hope y'all are enjoying this conversation. We're gonna get into our games with Lamar. Um, and yes, Chrissy got his wine. Give it a minute. Yes, YouTube is doing too much. Like this conversation is over 2 hours. We'll still keep going. He's so beautiful to look at. Yes, YouTube is trying us today, Deshaun. Yes, he is. He is. And still is. Give it a minute. It'll come back in, Fashion Dolls. In the meantime, if y'all are enjoying this interview, make sure y'all like, share, subscribe, share all of that good stuff. And we're back. Wait a minute. I guess not. He's gonna come back. In the meantime, make sure that y'all are following all of us. And we're back now. There we are. Oh, what's my favorite song from Karen White? Hunger. Make him do right. Number one, Hunger. It had a Janet Jackson like feel to it. So definitely check that one out. And the video that Lamar was in is Can I Stay With You, which is number two off of that album. So I remember the numbers because I listened to that album when I was cleaning the new house and putting stuff in the new house. And I had to dig through and remove all of my albums from out of the old house. Secret Rendezvous. Oh, I don't have that one. I have to get that one, that album. But I do have Ritual of Love. I do have Ritual of Love, which I think is her sophomore. It's the sophomore album. Yes, the video of Can I Stay With You was in 94. Yep. That's number two on Make Him Do Right. Number one is Hunger. And I think, I can't remember the number to number three. I think it's Secret Pleasures. But I know those are the first two from that album. That's how I know the track playlisting. I can't hear Lamar. I can't hear you. What if I exit Lamar out and then you come back? Jump out and then come back. So we'll be able to hear you. But for those of you who do not know, I've had pictures of him in my locker. I've had pictures of Shamar Moore, Kiko Ellsworth, all of them in my locker growing up. Like, that's, he was my crush. He was everywhere. So, and we're back.
We're back. Are we back fully? Am I back fully?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes,
good.
yes.
Um, I was trying to go back in my memory and tell you the first videos because Shantae Moore was the most popular one, but I've been doing them for a while. I'm gonna mention some old school names. My very first music video was with the Four Tops. Uh,
Ooh.
they had done a comeback album. It's a song called Indestructible, and I was probably about 19, I think. And then after that, do you know CC Peniston?
My colleague Tony Holly had her on his show, and she's related to someone in my family, the Singleton family. So that's how we have a mutual connection. But my God,
I
yes,
was,
I know. See,
I was in. She had a song out. You know, because she was backup for Madonna, and
yep.
she did a solo thing, and her song was called "What's It Gonna Be." What's it gonna be, baby? And I think it was produced by Jelly Bean Benitez, and I was in that video. And after that one, golly, who? God, I guess I've done more than I can remember. I've been doing it for.
Karen White, Christopher. That's from her album Make Him Do Right, and Lamar was in Can I Stay With You, which is number two on that album. Because I was listening to it over the weekend while I was cleaning the house and putting new stuff in the new house, getting everything organized. And that's how I know the first two tracks, singles off of that album. Yes, Karen White sings that. You are welcome, my love. Anytime. I'm glad that I was able to provide an escape for y'all today. And look at there. And yes, he is very good looking to look at and very intelligent. Yes.
Am I cut off again?
There we are. Now we can see you. You were saying?
I was saying that the videos that people can probably
Yep, he was in CC Deshaun. Yep.
being shown, that's on YouTube. Um, Shatasha, Free, the
Yes.
remake of Free. You can still find that on YouTube. Um, One of my favorite videos I cannot find. Maybe somebody else can find it. Do you remember a group called Ex Girlfriend?
Yes. Stacy, I cannot remember
Okay.
her name was Stacy
Yeah,
Francis. Yep.
Stacey Francis. And I got a funny story to tell you about her too. So the video that I did for Ex Girlfriend was for their song called "You for Me." UFOR for me. You for me. Now there were four girls in the group, so they picked four of us guys, to be their love interest in the video. I wasn't with Stacy in the video, but in between takes, when we were taking breaks, we were all just sitting around talking, getting to know each other. And I was sitting on the couch. I was rubbing Stacy's feet for her. I like to rub feet. So I was rubbing her feet for her, and that was it. It didn't go anywhere. It wasn't nothing sexual. But that was way back also in the 90s, like 1995. Fast forward, am I still with you?
Yes, you're still with me.
Okay. All right. Fast forward to, I guess it was 2009. If you remember, Stacy went on that vocal, what was that show called? The Voice?
X Factor. I think
X
X
Factor.
Factor.
She was on X Factor. And, but before she went on X Factor, I got braces on my teeth. Um, it was one of those 6-month braces specials that they had going, and I went and I did it. And it was this black doctor in the black dentist in Beverly Hills. And I went to his office, and they fitted me. They put the braces on me, and I used to have a gap in my teeth, in my top front teeth, and the braces closed the gap. But the way that it was explained to me by his receptionist, for the same price, I was going to be getting the braces, and once the braces came off, I would be getting veneers. So when the braces got taken off, the dentist, you have to get your teeth filed. Your natural teeth have to get filed down
Yep.
before you get veneers put on. So this mother, let me watch my language. This son of God took off my braces and then filed my teeth down, and then he stopped and he said, "Okay, now let's discuss financing for your veneers." And I was like, "Wait just a damn minute. I thought that the financing that I already got, that the veneers were included." "Oh, no, no, no. You misunderstood. It's a separate procedure. It's a separate fees. And I didn't have no more thousands of dollars. So now here I am with teeth that are straight, but they're filed down like a damn ghoul, like a vampire. And I couldn't afford to get the veneers, so he fucked me over is what he did. And so I had to get some temporary veneers that kept falling off until a couple of years later I was able to get the real deal. But when I went back in the second time to get the braces removed, the receptionist that was there that took me in 6 months prior was no longer there. There was a beautiful fair-skinned black woman sitting at the reception desk. And we talked for a few minutes and she checked me in. And I kept looking at her. And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I know you." And she said, "Yeah, I think I know you too." And we sat there thinking about what. And I said, "Wait." I said, "Do you sing?" She said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Stacy, it was her. She was married to him. That was her husband, this dentist. And she was being his receptionist temporarily." That man wound up getting in so much trouble from scamming people, he had to leave the country.
Oh,
And and I'm only saying it because she did, because when she got on the X Factor, she mentioned briefly something about her trifling ass husband and that she was going through a difficult divorce. So see how small the world is?
yes.
I was in her
And
music
you,
video and had to experience her trifling ass husband in a different way than she did, you know. But again, it goes back to what I said before: is that the experiences that I've had, the videos that I've been in, the runway show, all of my modeling and acting experience, I've made contacts with people who are beautiful people, and to this, I don't know what she's doing now. I wish I could talk to her now. She's a wonderful person. Stacy Francis. Yeah, she was great. But anyway, I mentioned her because that's one of the videos. That was one of my favorite videos. But you can't find it. So if anybody out there is listening and you know how to do that kind of research, it's the group was called Ex Girlfriend, and the video is called You for Me. Find it for me, because my copy is on VHS. Anybody look at VHS now?
no, we don't have those. That's another thing that nostalgia is missing.
Yeah, yeah. You can change. I still got my original VHS copy of Old School Lovin' where Shantae signed it for me. I still got that. So it's all nostalgia. It's beautiful memories. It's great. It's great. I'm so glad that with the now we didn't talk about this yet. AI. AI is doing a number on the industry, as I'm sure you know. You can't hardly scroll down your social media anymore without seeing somebody that you think is gorgeous and beautiful, and you want to follow them only to find out that they're an AI model or an AI actor.
Or
So everything is
singer. Uh-huh.
you can do stuff with AI now.
And it's dangerous how it's being used. But the creative aspect is if the power's in your hands. If somebody's using your likeness, and Janet Hubert from the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, she warned about the dangers of AI and how, make sure you let people know, don't use my likeness. Or
Yeah,
the logo here for Style by Stevie. This was created by Leander Lee Valiant Arts. He went and created this. He took one of my photos, several photo options that I gave him permission to do, and he created the logo for my show here. And I said, you know what? This is beautiful. AI is very dangerous. They're getting out of control with it. I tried to watch my Animal Planet and come out with these animals that look shape shifting from damn AI. But it can be good if you're doing like home decor. Like I scroll on Pinterest a lot. I've been on Pinterest trying to get ideas for the new house and everything. And some people will take ideas, colors and things and put them together. And you think it's an actual picture out of a magazine. This is like, no, it'll say this is moderated by AI. So then I think you can do that with that. But when you start doing it to real people, like Lamar said, and you think you try to follow the person and you're thinking that this is a real person, that's when it becomes dangerous. When you're using
yeah.
someone's likeness without their permission, if
But
they didn't give it to
the thing that we can hopefully hold on to as an asset is that AI cannot duplicate the essence of a human. They cannot
you.
duplicate the. Okay, for instance, um, you remember the movie what was it called? The white man that when they were making fun of the male models, what was that called? Doggone it! With and they did poses like they called Blue Steel, and they, and they make. But what was that damn movie called? Um, anyway, there's something about a human looking into a camera and projecting their humanity into the camera. That's something else that that put me over some of my competition back in the day was that I don't know where it came from. It wasn't a practice thing, but they told me that I was able to deliver sultry immediately without having to build up to it, or be direct. I've never had to be over directed at a photo shoot or anything, because they said that I just naturally knew how to uh, look into the camera, with whatever the look was, whether I'm gonna fuck you good tonight look, or don't you want to know who I am look, whatever whatever kind of look it was that they would call it. And that's what, and I mentioned earlier about these bogus modeling schools taking people's money, trying to teach them how to be a model. You can't really do that. It's one of those things where you have it, or it can be enhanced if you have it naturally. But there, to my point, there's just something about a natural ability to connect not only with the camera, but with the people who are behind the camera, and the people who are going to be looking at the pictures, the people who are going to be watching the videos, people who are going to be watching the
Oh yeah.
television news. There's something about that you really can't be taught that. You know,
And it's a natural ability. Like I've seen a lot of your photos, and it's like, okay, it's like he's staring through your soul. And there are certain models who are capable of doing that on the covers of magazines. And it's like, even on Essence, which cover that I saw that stood out to me? It was a model and she's an actress by the name of Joy Bryant. And she was in the Carmen with Beyonce and Rod Digger. And she did Essence magazine, and she's wearing the red suit. This is around 96. And it's like she's smiling and she's staring through your soul at the same time. It was beautiful. She's selling the garment. So that's what fashion was about. That's what sells things. But AI is now where you literally take how we're both looking now, and they can take our likeness and make it. But see, I gave Leander permission to do the Style by Stevie logos. I said, take a couple of photos. He said, send me a couple of options. And he went in and did his thing and used his own creativity and artwork as well, and blended it all and fused it, all of the things that my platform is based on. And it's beautiful. So be careful how you're using that. I would say use it for home decor, but don't use it for someone's likeness unless they're giving you permission.
right. There's something else about um, the human being as opposed to an AI version that makes a big difference, and it's something that kind of stopped my daughter from getting into the modeling industry when she could have, or when she was probably most primed to be. And it has to do with the competence that you and I have been talking about. Because you can have it, per se, but not be competent in it. When my daughter was 15 years old, I took her for her first professional photo session. And the photographer was a friend of mine. The makeup artist, God rest his soul, was a friend of mine. Um, so I wasn't fearful of leaving my daughter alone with them to do. A lot of times they want the kids to be separate from their parents because they think that their child
Yes.
won't they won't be themselves. They won't be relaxed enough to be themselves if their parents are sitting right there. But I'm a father of a daughter in difficult times. I wouldn't take my eye off of my child for nobody. But with these guys, they were my friends, so I trusted them. And when the pictures came back, they showed my daughter in a very sultry way that scared her. She was not ready to look like that. My daughter developed very early, as a lot of girls do. Um, I think before it was all said and done, she was in a J cup, so she was always self-conscious about her body, especially as a young woman. So when these pictures came out, they were fantastic, perfect, bomb pictures. She could have gone to any agency and gotten represented, but she was afraid of them. She scared herself. And that's what I was saying. That's what makes a difference. You can't teach certain things in
No.
this industry. She had it, but she was afraid of it, and that's what stopped her. I wasn't scared. you know, like I said before, I'm not arrogant. I'm not conceited, but I'm fully aware of how I look. For me, it's a tool. The way that I look for me is a tool. It's a matter of fact. It's not nothing that I'm super proud of. I didn't create it the way that I look. I was born this way, so I'm not super proud of the way that I look. I don't have nothing to say to put anybody else down because of the way that I look. I know that I'm nowhere near the best looking man on earth. Okay, but I know what my value is. There are people who may look to be a top model. They may have in their shower. They may have the best voice, but they don't. But they lack the confidence
Yeah.
in themselves. And it's really about that, because if you don't have self-confidence, you're not going to know how to relax. And that's the most important thing across the board in the industry, whether you're modeling, whether you're acting, whether you're singing, whether you're doing stand-up comedy, which I've begun to do that also.
I've
If you
seen
don't
that.
know how to see, you saw that, did you?
Yeah.
If you don't know how to relax into your gift, into my biggest caveat, my biggest encouragement to people who are up and coming in whatever area of the industry that they're coming into is, you've got to have confidence that is not fake confidence. You know what I mean by that? There's a difference. When people are trying to make themselves be what they're not because that's what they want to be, as opposed to that's who they are. You feel me?
Absolutely. More importantly than anything, don't pick yourselves apart. Look in the mirror. Sometimes it scares you how beautiful you are, or whatever you're battling with on the inside. You deal with that. That's
Let me talk about that for a second. I also, again, regardless to whatever my accolades may be, to my portfolio, my history, whatever it is, I still had a time of my life when my self esteem was very, very low. And if you can't bring yourself to a place of accepting everything about yourself as is, you're not going to be able to progress. And progress means what it means to you as an individual. It doesn't mean that you got the money to go out and get your face tucked and your body tucked and your boobs plumped and all that other kind of stuff. It means your natural self, whatever state that is in, if you cannot find within yourself to love yourself naturally and not fake it, because if you fake it with yourself, everybody can see it. Everybody can see it. And I had to learn to stop dimming my own shine, because
mm,
at a certain point in my life, when I began to realize, when the music videos were coming, and I was getting booked for this runway show, and I was getting booked for this and booked for that, um, I was still kind of beating myself up because I kept comparing myself to other models and not recognizing what I had uniquely that was me. Okay. And I had to understand what was happening was that we talked about my parents being boomers and black boomers. And a lot of the mentality of black boomers was to telling their children, watch what you do, watch how you behave, watch how you dress out in public because white people are looking at you. And you didn't want to do too much. You didn't, it was a lot of us were kind of either directly or indirectly instructed to shrink, to don't be noticed, don't stand out, don't do that, don't encroach upon someone else's self-esteem. So for a long time, you and I talked earlier about people thinking that I was intimidating. When I began to realize that I was intimidating people without meaning to, I began to self shrink. because I want people to enjoy my company. I want to enjoy other people's company. I want us to all have a good time. I want us to love on each other. I want us to laugh and smile and joke and have a good time. So I realized that I was shrinking Lamar so that I wouldn't intimidate other people and make them feel less than. Even though I didn't mean to, even though I realized it wasn't me that was doing it, that was them who felt that way. But I still was shrinking myself and saying, okay, don't be too great, because they're already intimidated. They're already talking shit. That you think you're this, you think you're that. So pull back some. Don't be number one. Maybe go ahead and be happy being number two, Lamar. Well, all that's over. All that is over. You know, um, Even in some of my relationships that I've been in, I found myself shrinking because I realized that they were low key competing with me. I felt that it was some kind of competition. If we were out as a couple, and people were complimenting me and not complimenting them, it was a problem for them. And I would shrink. No, baby, you shine. Let me lift you up. You know, all the while, in some cases, them tearing me down and me allowing them to tear me down. Again, no more of that.
And I hope a lot of you are getting this message as well to anybody who's suffering with any insecurity or doubting themselves, or not just doubting yourself, but putting yourself down. You're looking in the mirror and you're picking yourself apart. That happens. We do that. That's human nature. That's in our DNA. But we have to stop that and break that cycle. And
Yeah,
I think for the betterment of us embracing who we are
yeah.
authentically
I
is
think I'm,
is
I'm gonna I'm gonna take it spiritual real quick, and I'm gonna get off of it. The spiritual aspect is something that I was told. I know that spirituality, faith in who you as a person feel is your God or your higher power, it's all very unique and it's all very individual. That's the way it's supposed to be anyway. I used to have, especially when I became licensed as a minister, I would be in argument and debate after debate about sexuality and being a Christian and being a minister, especially, and having the sexuality that I have. And I began to study harder, and I'm learning biblical scripture in the original languages, in Hebrew and in Greek, and I'm reading other books, and I always get in my fellow Christians' case about when they make judgments based upon what they've read in scripture, because I tell them scripture was inspired by the Holy Spirit. It was not written, especially not our modern day Bible. It was not written by the hand of God. It was inspired. And that inspiration came through the filth and the muck of a human being. And muck who have an issue with homosexuality or bisexuality and all different sexualities. What they tend to do is they'll read a scripture, and because of their own personal existing prejudices,
Yep.
they will color that scripture and say it's evident, it's plain, it's written right here in plain English. This is what God says, la la la. And I have to remind them, when you go into the original languages of scripture, you'll see that a different story. And I spent so much time and so much energy in these arguments and discussions. And one day I was at my kitchen sink washing dishes, not even praying, not really even having my mind on God. But the Spirit speaks to me. And I know a lot of people who don't have a certain level of faith will say that I'm crazy. You just hearing your own subconscious
Oh,
speaking that way.
discernment. Right.
You know, you can't. I know the difference. I know when I'm talking to myself, and I know when I'm being spoken to by the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "Why do you keep arguing with these people? Why are you trying to defend who you are when I'm the one who created you? Why are you trying to prove that you are indeed to boost my to explain myself to anybody for anything. And that's where the self confidence really begins to shine. And when you stop pushing yourself down, you stop becoming that shrinking violet. And when you stop trying to explain yourself all the time, you stop trying to keep up with the Joneses and all these other things that you try to do because you're trying to make yourself be better or feel better. I'm going to tell you and tell everybody, go to your creator and find out how much you're loved.
Mm.
That's what's important. That's what your foundation should be. If you are loved of God and you know it, can't nobody say nothing to you. And you don't have any reason to shrink. You don't have any reason to fade into the background so that somebody else can shine, because the shine that God has put upon you is undeniable. And all you're doing is breaking the course of his plan by shrinking away from who you are and what power you think you have. Okay? Do not ever dim your own light for somebody, especially not for somebody else, because God put it in you for a reason. I may not, even though I'm 60 years old and I still got some living to do, I may not fully understand my purpose. I know some of my purposes. I understand that, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still growing. I'm still progressing. I've got more to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here anymore. So for me to dampen my own shine, I think is an insult to the one who created me with it.
And Chrissy just said in the comments, thank you, Lamar, for saying that, because I have the tendency to dim my own light. See, there are people out here who do that. And we sometimes are, it's human nature because we are modest. We're just like, no, 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 you do it. No, not me. You do it. We have a tendency to do that. But stop doing that. Stop dimming your light. And I've learned that is,
There's a word.
yeah.
There's a word that I can mention that kind of goes to that. You know how in Scripture it says that the meek shall inherit the earth.
Mm, yeah.
My great great auntie, who was the mother of my church at the time, she explained that to me, and it kind of goes across the board into what we're talking about right now. A lot of people think that when they hear the word meek, that it means weak, that it means pushover, that it means less than in some way. The true understanding of meekness is power under control. So never dim your light. Recognize that you have the power. You don't have to go around showing off. You don't have to be a top model. You don't gotta be on television in the movies or whatever it is. But everyone has a certain amount of shine, and it's not going to get any brighter as long as you keep feeling like you have to be overly humble. That's a thing too. I know that, especially we've been going back and forth with Christianity and faith and so on and so forth in the industry, but people misunderstand the need to be humble. Humble does not mean that you don't recognize your own greatness.
Right.
You know, humble means that I'm great, and it doesn't take away from your greatness. You can be great too, and I'll let you be great. But time is over for Lamar allowing people to stomp on what I know I can do for the sake of making them feel better about themselves. You feel better about yourself on your own. That's not my job. I'll try. I'd help you, but it's not my job.
It's within you. It's when it's it Bubs the God is in here somewhere. That's my colleague. Now I'm starting to get tongue tied. It's within you. It's within you to look deep within yourself and to
Mhm.
find the things that you love about you, not pick yourself apart. And I've learned to stop doing that as well too. So I want anybody who's struggling with that, thumbs up. Right.
And being an encourager. There was a movie that I was in back in around, I don't know, 2011 or so. It's called Getting Back to Zero. It's hard to find it, but I booked that role. I almost quit. I almost didn't even go to the audition because I was having a moment of low self esteem. I mentioned to you earlier about when I got those braces. Well, I had just gotten those braces and I still had them on my teeth, and the audition came, and I was like, nah, I can't. I don't feel confident. I got these braces in my mouth. Um, but my partner said, Lamar, you're tripping. He said, when you first auditioned, they saw that you had the braces. You're just, you're throwing dirt on your own shine. Go to that second audition. Go, no matter what.
Yep.
And it turned out, because he encouraged me to do that and supported me. It turned out that they booked me almost because of my braces, because having those braces in my mouth was making me speak a certain way that kind of matched the character that I was portraying. So you never know until you go ahead and keep that confidence and do it. And if you don't have the confidence, surround yourself with people who are supporting you, because you will reach greater levels with what we talked about before, with some kind of a village, than on your own. And I'm so very happy that I've always had a village of people around me.
That tribe, that your family, and one of my affirmations, real quick before we wrap, that I say to myself in the morning is I'm surrounded by people who uplift me. Sure that you are forming that village, that tribe, that community behind you, a family of friends. And I'm thankful to be in this part
Yes.
of my life right here, surrounded by family and friends who love and who keep me, going in the direction I need to go. I'm thankful to have, my colleagues as well too, that are there encouraging me along the way.
Yeah.
Deshaun, Chrissy, K2, Bubs, there's so many of them that keep me kind guys, all of them that keep me encouraged and looped in and centered.
And don't
Keep
be
those
afraid to
people
cut
around.
people off. Don't be
Oh
afraid to
yeah,
cut people off. If you've got people who may be in your circle or close to your circle, and it's very plain obvious that they are not supporting you, and that they may even in fact be working against you, no matter who it is, mama, daddy, brother, sister, auntie, cousin, longtime friend, survive in your own space and in your own greatness. If they can't take it, then let them go on and do their own thing. But having a good cutoff game, I bet you, is what just about every person who's successful in whatever they're successful at can say to you, is what they had to learn how to do, was develop a good cutoff game. I'm a double Capricorn, so I got good cutoff game.
fashion dolls. We're at the close. This was such a
Yeah.
great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm gonna bring back Lamar on the show. But we
Yep.
covered a number of things that I hope can help people as far as confidence, as far as building your confidence, as far as self doubt, you know, beating yourself. And a lot of people, we do it. I've learned to stop doing that. I would go back and watch my own interviews, and I would be like, other people see things that I don't, they'll say you're tripping. We don't see that. You'll pick out things about yourself that other people don't even see, and you're blaming yourself for it. So I've learned to stop doing that. I'm just like,
Okay.
you're hurting yourself in the process. You're not hurting anybody but yourself.
Hmm.
These other people are saying you did good, and you're finding out something to pick out when there's nothing there. You did great.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Stevie, it has been my great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to coming on again.
Same here. It was such a pleasure. I tried not to fangirl out in the beginning of the interview, but you guys can check that out later in the replay. And any gems that you would give to the next generation on following their dreams, because we covered a number of things in this conversation today, Lamar. What would you tell them?
I would say that we live in an existence that there are certain responsibilities in life if you want to live, simply paying your bills. So there's a dream to have, and then there's a responsibility to your natural life and your existence. I would say that handling one's business is tantamount. That's very important, but never ever give up on your dream. Given to you for a reason may also have a season. It may not be your season. Don't let that tell you that you can't do it at all. It just may not be your season. Stick with it. Always do something towards your dream. Every day, every other day, every week, whatever it is. Don't stop, no matter how old. I'm 60 years old, and I'm not going to give up. Okay, because it's still possible out there. It's still possible. Never give up on your dreams. Be wise. Be responsible. Always work on yourself. Never let anyone tell you that you can't do anything, because even the Bible says all things are possible. Love yourself. Respect yourself. Keep yourself healthy. Keep yourself ready, where even if there's no doors being open to you right now, that when the door is open, you are ready in your mind, in your heart, in your spirit, and in your health and in your body to step through the door with that confidence that we've spoken about today. Step through the doors when they're open for you. Prepare yourself for the door to be opened, and don't let anybody sway you.
And I'll piggyback off of what Lamar just said, which is we covered authenticity, walking in your light and in your joy. And I would tell you guys during this time where it may seem like a dark, polarizing time, to find your joy. Find your joy, find your escape, find something that brings you happiness. Create.
Yes.
Creativity is what makes me happy. House fire happened to me. I was in a dark period for a few days. And my mom was like, no, too soon for you to get back to doing interviews. Too soon. Too soon. Take your time. Sit, think, and reflect. Write. Write your goals down. Write your dreams down. As LeBar just stated about dreams. So dream
Yeah.
big. Using your imagination, we think is a kid thing, but we all have an inner child.
No, that's where it starts.
Definitely.
That's where it
I will
starts.
close today's show with Fashion Dolls. July 30th, we have Prince Bambi joining me and Lamar. This was a dynamic conversation. We went over 2 hours, which was needed. And I hope you guys took away from all of the gems in these 2 hours of this conversation today.
And I hope they were patient while the phone kept messing up.
But we made it work. We got through, and it was a great
We got
conversation. And I had
it.
a great time.
Was.
We
You
got
be
to do
blessed.
this again. So I'm going to be messaging you because I'm going to bring Lamar back. This was amazing and it was a dream come true. Like I said, I had pictures of him in my locker and I was crushing on him. I was like, oh my God. I got a picture of him, Shamar, Tyson, all of them in the locker. And I'm just like, he's here in real time. Whew, okay.
Much love to you, sis.
You too. Such a pleasure.
All right.
And I'm
Be
definitely going
blessed.
to take care, everybody.